Hello, this is Stephen Dominguez, the S in the BS Podcast Network. Please enjoy this fine podcast.
Hi, this is Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch, and when I say Pleakley, I mean it's really pathetic 59-year-old Kevin McDonald from the Kids in the Hall, stupid head, and you're listening to the Magic Our Way podcast with Kevin, Danny, Eli, and Lee! Woohoo!
Jumbo, everyone!
Harambe!
And welcome to another edition of
The Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
Magic Our Way.
The Magic Our Way podcast.
They are truly magical and whatnot.
Asante San, everyone. You are listening to the Magic Our Way podcast from New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States of America. We are artistic buffs talking about Disney stuff, and this is a show in which every opinion is welcome. MagicOurWay.com is where you can find us. For this episode, we are discussing some Disney news related to the Jungle Cruise refurbishment and movies pulled from kids' profiles on Disney+. My name is Kevin.
And I'm the guy who put a group of ethnically diverse people on that Jungle Cruise poll before it was cool. And my name is Danny.
Yes, right. And on the show, we follow the Disney concept of edutainment, where we focus on your entertainment, and along the way, you just might learn a thing or two.
Hey.
And as always, to join in our discussion, we have our resident comic genius from ivorycomics.com, Mr. Eli Ivory. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. All kind of stuff happening today. Can't wait to cover it.
It's going to be awesome.
Very awesome. Mucho Osimo.
And also joining us on this Mucho Osimo show is our resident travel agent from Magical Moments Vacations, the Shaggy TA, Lee Lasavica. How you doing, Lee?
Oh, good, man. I guess talking about Jungle Cruise is going to have to be a substitute for talking about Disney cruises. But, that's kind of where we're at right now. So looking forward to this one.
Well done, man. I like that. How you tossed in the Disney cruise thing in there.
He's hurting.
Yeah,
I could get on one sometime in the future.
You would. They still have my money in limbo.
Oh, wow. They should refurbish that back to you.
Yeah, well, they will, but then I give up my extra 25% credit.
That's like, what, $2.50?
No.
$2.50?
No.
Oh, $2.50 back?
No, substantially more. Trust me, I would have asked it back by now.
Well, guess what, guys?
What?
We have just expanded our places in which people can find the podcast. How about that?
Awesome.
We are now on Amazon Music and the Audible apps. So you can find us on there. And for our friends over in India, we're on the Ghana app. Or Ghana app. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm sorry. It's Gaana. Apparently, that's like the biggest podcasting platform over in the country of India.
What?
So who knows? Yeah, we'll be getting some. Yeah, so that all just started today. So now all of our shows have been pushed to those areas.
Ghana represent. Is there anything we could do to appeal to the people of Ghana?
I don't know.
Anything differently?
The first thing that came to mind is just Indiana Jones stuff. I don't know.
Oh, Chub Monkey Brains? I don't think that's...
Yes.
You play the sitar?
Solaram? That probably doesn't work either.
No.
We do that?
Although Austin's loving it somewhere because that's his favorite Indiana Jones show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but welcome.
Yeah, hey.
I say welcome.
Glad
to have you.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys. So if y'all frequent any of those apps, especially stateside, Amazon Music or Audible, I double-checked. We are there. It's kind of awesome. You search for Magic Our Way, and there it is. Boom. We pop up. So that's very, very exciting. And also, as I mentioned at the top of today's show, we are talking about two particular news items. Number one, the Jungle Cruise was announced on Monday by the Disney company that they're getting a refurbishment, and we're going to talk about all those little details that are happening with it. And number two, we're also talking about some Disney movies or animated movies. Well, I guess not animated and live action movies that were pulled from kids' profiles only on Disney+. So we're going to explore those two little news happenings that happened this past week. So enough of our jibber jabber. Let's go discuss some Disney news magic. Here we are on the queue, and this is the segment in which we get to discuss all the news and happenings in the world of Disney today. To start off, on Monday, January 25th, 2021, Disney Parks blog announced that they, and I quote, are building the story of the Jungle Cruise at both Disneyland Park and at Disneyland Resort and Magic Kingdom Park at Walt Disney World Resort to include new adventures that stay true to the experience we know and love, more humor, wildlife, skipper heart, and also reflect and value the diversity of the world around us, close quotes. This new story is set to have more of the skippers in the story, both as a live experience and witty guides, and also as a show figure within the attraction itself. Plus, we were told to be on the lookout for 2 boats that haven't been seen in a long time, the Mekong Maiden and the Quango Kate. If you're curious as to what happened to them, you just might go ape when you find out on this new Jungle Cruise adventure, otherwise known as the Boat Story, as one of the Jungle Cruise skippers stated at the end of the video that accompanied the Disney Parks blog article. And in a D23 interview, Disney Imagineering Creative Portfolio Executive Chris Beatty says this: "We want to make sure everybody has the best time, that guests from all over the world can connect with the stories we share, and that how we bring those to life are respectful of the diverse world we live in. And when they get off the attraction, they know that we have done our homework, because these are the details that matter. When you look at the Jungle Cruise as it is today, there are just a couple of scenes that don't do that and needed a refresh. But I wanted to make sure people know we are not changing the whole Jungle Cruise. This is a re-envisioning of the entire attraction. It's the Jungle Cruise, in love, with the skippers still leading the way, and at the same time we're addressing the negative depictions of quote-unquote natives," he says. So that's one of the scenes we're going to go in and change. So that's with his quote from D23 interview. And as expected, the Disney fan blogosphere and general news outlets went whole hog on this one. I tried to work the Jungle Cruise animal thing into my... But anyway. Whatever.
I thought you were working your hog.
I was working... That too, yeah.
Okay.
You pet that hog.
I do. Wink. Anyway, ZiggyKnowsDisney.com states in their article...
Ziggy Knows Disney?
Yes. I had to use that one because that just made me laugh.
Oh, God.
Never heard this guy, but, ZiggyKnowsDisney.com. He
I like
says in his
Ziggy
article,
already, man.
Reach out to Ziggy.
We need to have Ziggy on the show.
It was a good comic strip.
I don't even know him, but I just feel that he does know Disney.
See? I could have quoted anybody else, but I went with Ziggy just because it's Ziggy.
That's a good name.
But anyway, he says in his article about this, he says, quote, "In the concept art, you can see a similar scene to what is already in the attraction, only now the expedition crew is now more racially diverse." And he was referencing one of the artwork things that we'll talk about in a little bit. Inside the Magic reports in their article, the Jungle Cruise attraction appears to be going in a less humorous direction than guests might be used to, which is a very interesting quote from them.
How do they know that?
I have no idea.
I was going to say, less humorous at all.
Right.
It's the same humor, just different color.
Well, I mean, I can see having your own individual concerns. I can understand that, I suppose, but to announce it as though they're actually dumbing down the humor, that we've not gotten to that.
Right, exactly. And I thought to include that quote in here because I thought that was unique, because they're the only ones that have said that.
Yeah, well, Ziggy didn't say it.
Ziggy didn't say it,
Ziggy
no.
would do you like that.
And I know Kirk loves Inside the Magic now, so I wanted to make sure I threw that quote in there.
Oh, Ziggy from like Quantum Leap.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't want to throw out a dated reference, but yes.
And the last thing in the fan news sphere is, as heard on NPR's All Things Considered, the transcript of their discussion about this is titled "Disney Revamp of Jungle Cruise Ride Removes Racist Depictions of Indigenous People." So to end this introduction about what we're about to discuss, I'd like to end with a quote from Bob Iger, as stated on his Twitter the day after all this news broke. He says, quote, "The exciting changes we're making to one of Disney's most popular classic attractions, Jungle Cruise, reflect our commitment to creating unparalleled experiences that reflect not only the best in storytelling, but also the values and rich diversity of our world." And now I bring it back to us, fine gentlemen. How about that? Where do we begin?
I thought the quote was going to be, I should have left this to JPEG.
He tried to, I think. But they keep pulling him back.
Pulling it back.
So where to begin, guys? What do y'all think?
I would like to know when they stopped referring to them as headhunters and started calling them natives and indigenous people.
Well, the joke just doesn't flow as well, does it?
No, but I mean, on the ride, that's what they call them. They're headhunters.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of them being there, and it just feels like they're mischaracterizing them as natives.
Natives, yes.
I mean, where do you want to start, I guess, is the thing.
That's the question,
Do you want to start with the change?
Well, let's start with the change.
Yeah.
That's what's on the table.
Lay it
first,
all
right?
out. Lay it all out.
The change involves a revamped story. They're involving the skipper story background, I guess, more. There are apes involved, apparently, mischievous apes.
Yeah.
There's going to be one of the artwork has a redo of that whole rhino scene. There's going to be an animatronic skipper as part of the attraction,
I mean, for the most part, I don't mind the thought of the revamp. I mean, I didn't really think it was needed, but because it's a classic attraction, right? I mean, everybody knows what it is. It's consistent. So if I know we're talking one side, I don't want to like cross topics, if you will, but I'll say this. I mean, that's something that the way I understand is based on a lot of old school stuff from like 1955, and that's how Europeans saw the world and how they saw the jungle.
It was from that particular
era, right? And so it was inspired by books that talked about that. So yeah, a revamp's not bad. If it's to have your heroes be a little more diverse, it depends because there's a certain ratio when you do diversity. At least you need like 3 to 5 in there. You can't just throw in one person to come and be like, there you go, it's diverse. You can't just do that. You gotta mix it up. We mixed up a little bit. Right?
We're diverse.
Exactly.
Very diverse
This is
podcast.
diverse.
I'm just happy they're keeping the poll. I've spent a lot of time on that artwork.
Yes, you did.
On that poll.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Here's my remarks at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, our poll. Our poll's more diverse than their poll.
That's right.
Either way I say it, it's not going to come out.
It's our poll.
That's right. It's our poll because we bring the poll.
Right.
It's all wood.
Yes, all wood.
That is.
All the time.
All the time. We bring the wood.
Notice Kevin is not as high up on the poll as some of the rest of us.
Yeah.
We're a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Well, it's proportional to,
We measured.
That's right.
I mean, we're happy. We all got mics.
Yes.
That's
we all coughed. It was great.
Look, I can't really comment on this without going into what I said before. So I'll wait to go last. I'll let you or Lee go.
As far as the change goes, I'm at the point where I'm totally comfortable with them making changes because they're going to do it anyway. And so they've been doing it to a lot of the attractions that, I grew up with, and changes are happening. If it's a new story, so be it. We'll see how they do. I'm curious to see what they end up doing with it. I guess it's cool. I don't know. The story that they're projecting as far as adventures has me thinking something like Big Red and Little Red on Kilimanjaro Safari, that whole thing where they try to do that and then they just kind of abandon it all. So it's not going to be like, I don't know if they're going to try to do it Pirates of the Caribbean or something.
Well, like the movie, since the movie hasn't come out yet due to the pandemic.
That's what I was thinking. My first initial was, they're preparing for the movie thing. They're actually going to time it when the movie comes out, whenever that comes out.
They go into great detail saying there's going to be a bird watcher, an entomologist, a wildlife painter, and a photographer. They're detailing the people that are going to be in the poll, and you're supposed to get a sense of their backgrounds and everything. And it just seems like a lot of explanation for a poke in the butt gag. That really just works the minute you see it. It really doesn't need any more context.
Right.
It doesn't need more diversity. It works just on sight.
They want you to dig, though. They want you to dig. And so, who are the people on the poll?
Well, I think they're trying to get some kind of overarching story through the entire thing.
And
that's what it seems like. Yeah.
And again, I'll wait. I'll let Lee go.
You all right, dude? You all right?
No, I'm fine. It's just I'm just worried I'm going to hijack the conversation by taking it where I wanted to take it initially.
We'll hijack it right back from you.
Okay.
And then, you take it back. And
You're the captain now?
I'm the captain now.
I am the captain.
It's my jungle cruise.
I am the captain.
Well, Lee, what do you think, man? You're the captain now.
Oh, man. Yeah. I am definitely not that worried about it. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think if anyone is upset about this, they just need to kind of step back and go, hey, you know what? Is this really what I want to spend my time being upset about?
Yeah. Is this my hill to die on?
You know what I mean? Okay, have an opinion, that's one thing, but if this really truly offends you that they're going to take, headhunters and, these kind of outdated depictions of indigenous people out, if that is the biggest problem you've got with Disney right now, then really you need to just get over it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that you could characterize it as that's their biggest problem that they have with Disney. I think you could maybe characterize it as they're perplexed that this is what Disney feels is their biggest problem and deserves their attention right now. Yeah. I think you're mischaracterizing people a little bit.
Maybe, but I guess what and if that's what you are upset about, then that's again perfectly fine. I just want to say that the fact that things are changing does not need to upset you, if that makes sense. It's like things are going to change, things are going to evolve. Are they going to? I don't want to say Disney's pandering to people, but to some degree, they do have to be that person in a way, right? They need to be all eyes on Disney, I guess. It's just like anything else. You got 7 million fast food restaurants, but everyone always looks at McDonald's and to see what they do.
Really? I hope not.
This is America. We have plenty of fast food restaurants in America. But anyway, all I'm saying is like, this does not upset me in any way. I don't care one way or the other. If they want to do it, it's also not going to offend me if they don't. You know what I mean? Like, everything is already what it is. I've never was offended by seeing these figures in the attraction or anything like that. But maybe there are people that are offended, and maybe even if you're not offended, this is just Disney trying to evolve.
I mean, I think it's more about I think he had a good point, but I think it's about the motive as to why they want to change it. I guess that would be the take I would come away with. Like, if you're like, hey, look, we don't have nothing to do. It's a pandemic. We want to revamp our stuff. We want to change. It's your world. Totally can't do nothing about that. That makes sense. But if you're saying, oh, we want to adjust with political movements or whatever, and what you call it, stay woke, coffee bean or whatever it is. Then,
coffee bean.
Yeah.
Wait. Coffee bean.
Yeah, I just threw that in there for fun.
Oh, you threw coffee bean?
Yeah, in other words, like if you just try to say, oh, we're trying to be progressive.
Oh, I see.
Socially progressive or something like that.
Keep up with the times.
Yeah, keep up with the times,
Yeah.
Cornbread with stuff. Like, it's all the same. That's just a jumble of words to me. In that case, to me, it doesn't make sense. But if you just try to revamp what you have, cool. But, look, I talk to brothers and sisters all the time. I mean, where I work is predominantly black. I mean, I got my hair cut. I was talking to Barb about Soul. He loved it. I should show you a picture of him. He looks like the guy.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. And I told him about this topic. He's like, oh, okay. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't offended.
Right.
I talked to... I've never heard of anybody being offended up until... maybe like the last 5 years or so is really where this is kind of picked up.
Yes. I mean, I'm not trying to offend nobody on the airways. I know we got new listeners and whatnot, but I mean, I'm being honest. Don't
offend all our new listeners from India.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, and our brothers there can tell us different, but
are they depicted in the Jungle Cruise?
I don't think so.
Well, they're going to finish this.
Is there
a river? Is there a river?
Yeah, there is.
Right?
There's definitely an Indian river in there. And
but no, the Indian. Well,
I thought when we went to Disneyland that when you saw the pole initially and the guys in the fezzes and the rhinos poking them, I thought they were Indian in nature. I've seen photos of them where they look light skinned and I've seen other photos and they look black. I don't know.
It all depends on the aperture.
Yeah, it could be it, man. It could be the time of day you ride it.
That's it.
Have no idea. The lighting has something to do. So I thought, I mean, the fez, just in and of itself, you would think more Indian culture, right?
Right.
That's what I always assumed. And then, when this whole thing came up and I looked into it and people were pointing to the pole as being a problem, the one in Magic Kingdom already has a group of diverse people on the pole, so it wasn't an issue there, I don't think. I think it was more of an issue in Disneyland where people were pointing at that. And so all I have to say is that I don't know. To me, that's what I always thought they were, but then when I looked at the pictures, I could see where some people could see it the other way.
Like, as far as it being, offensive, or...
I don't know what they think in terms of offensive. I can't even fathom... Once again, to take it back to the whole thing of the natives and the indigenous people, I'm like, why do we keep... I've never seen one article refer to them as the headhunters.
Okay.
Which is what they are. They're not meant to be representative of the people of Africa or where. They're supposed to be a group of headhunters.
Okay, yeah.
That's always... And so just to kind of fast forward along to where I was going with this. So when I saw this, 'cause that was my first question. It's so what is so offensive? Because kind of like what Lee said, I never noticed that there was anything offensive about it. Did you?
No, and I didn't. But I'm a highly creative, intelligent person. So,
so I was looking it up, and Kev, did you ever have an issue?
I never had an issue with it. No.
Yeah, okay. Never did.
But that scene, I never noticed. I know. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know some people talked about the order in which the people are on the pole or something like that.
Oh, it's like that now? We
Yeah.
talk the social ladder of climbing now?
No, they're talking about, there's like more people of color were toward the bottom of the pole and the white people were at the top. Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's completely stupid because the person at the top is the biggest pussy because they're the ones that ran first.
Yeah, they're the fastest.
I wouldn't even say the fastest. They were the ones that get scared first.
They were pushing everyone down to get to the top.
That's
Right.
digging. That's digging really deep.
That
is digging really deep.
You're really spelunking there in order to be offended if that's the thing. But the depiction of the indigenous native people, whatever, I always took them as being headhunters. And so when I heard about this, I mean, that was my first reaction, was to find out why it was that people thought about it. And they were like, they're depicting these people as savages.
Savages, yeah.
Is what I saw over and over again. Again, no mention to the fact that they were supposed to be headhunters, just that they were savages. So
Well, headhunters are pretty savage.
Oh, I would say so.
Yeah, because you on their land.
Well, it really goes to show something that in this country, in this day and age, in this time that we live in, you would think that if there's one thing that we could all come together on is, cannibals, those people. We can villainize cannibals in these days, but no, apparently not. Cannibals need to be a protected group.
Bones have lives too.
So the first thing I did was I went on the internet and I'm like, well, maybe the whole idea it's how they portray the headhunters. And so I did a quick Google search on headhunters to see what headhunters actually look like. And the very first article I found was from 2017 entitled "The Last Cannibals: 5 Tribes with Deadly Headhunting History." I'm serious. It's centered around 5 headhunting tribes in West Papua New Guinea.
New Guinea?
They had pictures and everything. And what do you know? They looked exactly like the headhunters on the Jungle Cruise. So now, knowing a thing or two about Disney history, I have a lot of books. And I pulled out the guy who I knew would have been responsible. Just in case y'all want to go double check it, it's called Mark Davis, in his own words, Imagineering the Disney Parks. If you flip to where he came up with the design for the headhunters, he says, and I quote, okay, and these folks were from New Guinea. I hadn't been out to Papua New Guinea at this time. That was later. But I knew this art because we called it oceanic art, and it really wasn't until the Second World War that we discovered that there were many forms of oceanic art, and really the high point of it, I still think, came from Papua New Guinea. So the dude studied pictures of the headhunting tribes from Papua New Guinea and coming up with this depiction of what they would look like. So this isn't some kind of stereotyped caricature. They weren't meant to portray all black people as savages or anything. They were done just as everything over at Disney is done, by using reference material from actual headhunters that existed in Papua New Guinea and then recreating it, just like they did with the building for the Haunted Mansion, just like they did with the castle, just like they did with everything else. They found pictures of something and recreated it.
You know what? This is all the fault of the colonizers in 1955. That's whose fault this is.
The colonizers?
Yeah, because they came from Europe. Everybody was chilling, doing their own thing, headhunting and stuff, eating people, and then Europeans came in here and just blew everything up. That's what happened.
Yeah, but if not for that, we all wouldn't have met.
That's true. I don't think I'd be here. Yeah,
I'd be in Italy. Kevin, you'd be in
Philippines.
Yeah. Lee, Czechoslovakia, right?
Yeah, I'd be somewhere close to Russia.
Yeah.
In the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, unless the Moors came by, then maybe that might have reunited us all.
Hey, they came by and visited my people one time too many.
I know. But you cool, right? I'm cool, right?
I'm cool, hey, man. They gave me my soul.
There it is, sir. There it is. Yeah, but that's fair. That's a good point. Back to no, that's a good point. They do use reference for this, and the thing is, it's also the theme of where it is. I mean, it's in the jungle. You're not going to see stockbrokers in there, you know.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to get.
So then, what is the idea? Is that you cannot portray black people as having been in the jungle? What is the? So then, what is the offensive? If you're recreating what actually exists in real life, what is the offensive part?
Well, okay, I would have to gather this much. I would have to gather that if they're basing it on, like I said, stuff from like 1955 and whatnot, which was, again, like there was the book Heart of Darkness, which talked about like a European being in Africa and how, like, you know, it was this whole thing of we're normal, this is savage, blah, blah, blah. The Africans never got a speaking part. So maybe the key here is to just say, okay, yeah, they're savages and they could be indigenous people. We'll just keep it broad, but maybe they don't have a speaking part. Maybe they don't have no part where they actually get to interact with the people. But other than that, it's a jungle. I don't really see where there's something to be offended about. Again, anybody that I talk to about this, because I want to get an opinion from other folks and then have them. You know how we do like the Disney moment where you're like, oh yeah, I was out at work and I was fixing someone's computer and I had nothing to talk to them about. So I talked to them about this thing and then like they said, holy what? Jungle Cruise doing what? Well, you better say this on the podcast right now. Tell them I said this. Like, you know, I was hoping to get a response like that, but all I really got was, what? Look, let me just tell you about this computer problem and my girl next door, she beating on me. I had to body slam, but don't tell nobody that computer guy. Like, that's what I got. Like, this does not, for my general thing, yeah, I don't see where it's offensive. And if it is meant, I'm sure it's not meant to be offensive, but if it is offensive, let's say, doesn't cure anything. Taking them out and it's in the jungle, like, I'm surprised if after they do that, like some brothers and sisters don't come by and say, so what you saying? We don't belong anywhere? We can't be in space? We can't even be in the jungle now? You can't.
Well, it does come across a little bit like that, doesn't it?
Who made that choice, though? Who made that choice for people to come?
Don't ask me. Look, I'm listening to you, but apparently I'm hearing from a lot more white people that are saying that black people are offended highly by this. So clearly you don't know what you're talking about. And they do.
You know, it is so tough. It is so tough to be a black man in America. You're like, aren't you offended by this? Like, no, but you're black. Like, yeah, I was born like this, but damn. I mean, you know, I didn't make the ride. You know, I hear you. Somebody telling me what I should be offended. You know what I'm offended by? That my stimulus check wasn't more than what it is, so I go on vacation.
Clearly,
by that.
Eli, you are part of a special group of people that some people think need to be protected.
I'm part of the problem.
You need to be protected because you cannot handle such imagery. It is hurtful to you.
You know what?
And we need to protect you from this.
Please protect me. I don't need to go to work no more. I'm going to stay offended for a long time and just protect me. That's it. That's it.
Why don't you try that? Why don't you go to your boss, the boss? I can't come in anymore. Why? I'm just dealing with some emotional trauma, man. That Jungle Cruise got me all
He's like, what the hell you talking about? What that got to do with it? Yeah.
Ivor, you better get to work.
You offended me now. I need to be protected. Why are you telling me to go to work? What do you mean?
I want to hear from people from Papua New Guinea and see what they think.
That's fair.
They're too busy trying not to get eaten.
They're running up the pole.
They probably robbed the attraction like, that's my cousin.
Foo, how you doing? Well, I ain't seen you since the last barbecue, man. We ate that dude last week.
I'm curious, though, if I mean, I'm not saying this is maybe what they're thinking of. And I'm not saying this is one thing. I just popped in my head. But I'm wondering if the people that are taking offense to this have the same view as how they did Lilo and Stitch, where when they made that movie, they didn't even consult the people of the islands on things or whatever else. Is this the same thing where they, even though they portrayed it and referenced pictures, they still didn't consult the people from those islands
that's
as far as the depiction?
That's a tough
or maybe,
call.
Okay, so seriously though, maybe people don't want their country or their culture represented to be only about headhunters. They're probably like, hey, man, there's more to us than just headhunting.
We've advanced past headhunting.
Well, yes, Africa and whatnot definitely has. I'm sure New Guinea has. I'm sure there's...
Okay, but this is a theme park. We are telling stories. Story need antagonists and protagonists.
That's true.
Again, as to Eli's point, if you're in the jungle, you're not going to be chased by lawyers.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of headhunter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I'm riding pirates, I'm not offended that the pirates are white. If I'm black, I'm not like, well, man, where the Somali pirates at?
Yeah.
I'm
where the captain?
I'm just taking in the story of it. So, I mean, unless we're trying to say that black people cannot be portrayed in any negative, like you can't have a black villain. Like, why can't I not look upon Dr. Facilier and say he's a villain that happens to be black.
No,
as opposed to he's a black man and you're villainizing.
Yeah, the next thing you know, somebody's walking to me like, do some voodoo, you're black. Like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the ideal would be to just say, hey, look, here's just a cool representation of everything. And look, trust me, if it was something where taking indigenous people out of a ride, like, cured all racial problems, then I would be like, look, just take this one for the team, Disney. But it's not. It's just a ride. It doesn't change anything.
Speaking of that, I was wondering if there was the same kind of offense if it was like Somali pirates attacking your boat.
Yeah, that's you see that. That's
I would. That's a great question. I mean, look,
they're armed to the hilt, and they're going after you, and then it would be scary.
It would
for a hell of a story.
A lot more realistic.
It would
bring into modern times, as people would say. But would people still get offended by that?
Well, okay,
absolutely.
You get all right. You get kind of deep. I'll make it quick and back out.
Well, I didn't mean to get deep. I just thinking one of my reasons was like I wonder if this is just their way of trying to make it bring it into a more modern scenario story, like maybe I don't know,
like take the Jungle Cruise out of the 50s,
and it just happens to be during a time when all this other stuff is happening.
But they know this stuff is happening.
Yeah.
There's no right time to do it.
But because I was thinking, like I'm looking at the lands and the stuff that's been updated since then. It almost feels. I mean, other than the Swiss Family Robinson house that we have. That's probably one of the last major attractions that hasn't gotten some kind of modernization.
Upgrade?
Yeah, because Pirates, they got Jack and stuff. I mean, granted, it's not a huge upgrade. I mean, a modernization, but it's relevant just because he's there. And he's been in the movies. And Tarzan out in Disneyland, they got to update. Well, I mean, it's old now, but they got to update to that tree. Aladdin's Aladdin, but what are you going to do with that?
Touch that.
I mean, but actually, like what you just mentioned, I mean, we just found Swiss Family Robinson movie is been labeled with a warning.
Yeah.
Talk about Aladdin. That's another one that's rife with anger from people about the portrayals. This is a door that never closes.
Yeah,
this is going to perpetuate itself. Now, real quick, unless somebody really has something that they want to get in on that, I kind of feel like I need to jump back a little bit because I went to where I wanted to go about this because the way I look at it is like I don't like the reasons why they're doing this, but I like the results.
I was going to say real quick because Kevin asked a question and we never really got to touch it when he's talking about the polish for Lilo and Stitch. That was the only thing I was going to address, and then
sure.
Yeah. So we'll go that, and then we'll go back.
Yeah, we'll go right back. That's I didn't want you to get too deep because
no. I was just trying to backtrack because everyone gave their opinion on whether or not they thought the ride changes were acceptable or not, and then I didn't. So I kind of wanted to, before I sit there and make it sound like I hate this, I don't. I'm just questioning the reason, the rationale, and the results. So I'm, to what Kevin said, if you're going to modernize it and put it in modern times, I'm kind of cool with that. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so then the other fear then, when you were asking
just
about...
Just to recap, you were addressing the question I had about Lilo and Stitch and the reference there versus these people.
The fact that they cared to get they didn't do the reference for Lilo and Stitch, right? That was it.
Right. Yeah, they didn't do that, and so for this, they didn't do the same thing either.
Right. So I guess the quick version of it is just to say there's a certain perception that imagination can present if somebody's not used to whatever that culture is. So it is good to have as much education about that culture as possible. And then if you can put different spins on the perception of that culture in there, then good. But it doesn't mean you got to cram it in where you need to. In this case, it doesn't. But you can still have you can have a black person that's like, a headhunter here and then do another ride with a black person, good guy. I mean, they just happen to be black. You know what I'm saying? Like, you research that as best you can, but as long as the perception is still on an even keel, should be straight. That's all I was saying.
Well, like when you went and saw the Great Movie Ride, and you get to the gangsta scene, and the stereotypical Italian gangster. I mean, I never took offense to that because, of course, they're gonna. That's the whole.
Can you believe that she's got something against Italians? Can you believe that?
It's just
it's mind-boggling.
It is. It really is. It's you're in the jungle. You needed a threat. What were you going to choose?
So go to your point. So that's all I wanted to say.
No. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure it's known. Honestly, don't have a problem with the change here. This is one of the ones that I think that they probably got right. My only concern would be, as I said before, is if they tried to over-explain. Because the Jungle Cruise never really had a story. I mean, the story was it was a jungle cruise. You were navigating. In fact, they had to come up with a bunch of jokes just to make it interesting. And so that's why I don't have a problem. It's not like you're ripping out the essence. It's not like you're de-skinning the animatronics of the Jungle Cruise and putting Pocahontas in there and calling it Just Around the Riverbend Ride or something. You know, it's.
That sounds like a rumor that happened once. That sounds strangely familiar.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
That's problematic in its own right, though. I mean, how do you do that right now? Because again, people go after low-hanging fruit, but after a while, as things come down, you move on to the next low-hanging fruit, and sooner or later, it's going to go. Well, Peter Pan's next on the job. Tom Sawyer, that's coming up as well. I mean, it's going to continue to perpetuate itself. So we got to be careful of the reasonings behind why we're doing it. It's kind of like, if you got a child that's acting up and throwing a tantrum, and so to get him to stop, you buy him a toy.
Oh, yeah, good point.
You're happy in the moment because you're like, oh, good, I got my peace and quiet. But you can't feel good about how you got it. You know that you've just conditioned this child to believe that next time I want something, I just act out and I get it.
And it'll get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's very poignant.
I always thought that Jungle Cruise was Walt's muscle flex back in the day.
Like, check out my stuff.
Hey, check it out. I got audio animatronic robots outside.
Yes.
Mic drop.
Bam.
And they submerge underwater. Boom.
Well, that's
I like that.
That's one of my biggest problems with this, because when they interviewed that guy you were talking about, Mr. Beatty, was it?
Yes.
We're
talking about Ziggy?
No, not Ziggy, man. Ziggy's my boy.
Chris Beatty.
Not Ned Beatty. He was Ned Beatty. He was in a whole different. He was a whole different pig scene.
Yeah, no. When he was in the forest, it didn't go too well for him either, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Chris Beatty or Beatty or something like that. Chris.
Yeah. So I was reading some of the stuff that he said, and there's one. This just stood out to me. I was reading through this. So when talking to Mr. Beatty, he said, when introducing new elements, even animals, we make sure that they're done in a respectful way. We reached out to Dr. Mark Penning and his team at Disney's Animal Kingdom and said, look, we have these chimpanzees that are coming into this new world, and we want to have fun with them. How do we make sure it's done in an authentic way for the chimpanzees? We want to have fun, but we're not making fun of the animals. His team had great insights, and it really elevated that new scene. So that's where we are now. We're worried about real chimpanzees' reactions to fake chimpanzees.
Here's the irony of that.
And then the people's reaction
Yeah.
to the chimp's possible reaction to the fake chimpanzees.
I thought you were going somewhere else because you were like, okay, if they took out the indigenous people to not offend black people, then having a boat full of monkeys should not run through any black people's mind at all as possibly being offensive.
Lord.
See, you can do that.
I didn't even see
They
that.
probably
See
did that.
You
No, they
could
probably
do
did
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's like how it, like you said, it's a door that will not close. I think it's visually funny that it's chimpanzees, because right. But it's what I'm saying. Like somebody can easily be like, boom, now I'm offended. They forget the whole setup of what it is, the whole set piece that it's the jungle, it's monkeys, they're making fun of the people on the boat. It won't stop. That was my point.
They weren't worried about making fun of the people that were on the boat, but they're worried about making fun of the chimpanzees.
Oh, for what's the Aunt Peter? So Peter don't get mad.
Peter gets mad at everything.
Okay, so talking about how ridiculous this has gotten. Did y'all see the story today? The one today, it was like, what was it, Friday or something like that, from PETA?
No.
PETA came out and said that they want us to stop calling people rats and snakes, because they say it normalizes violence against animals.
No, if somebody rats on somebody, that's what it is, a rat.
Yeah, you just normalize violence, and therefore you hate animals.
Oh, no, I'm black. The violence surrounds me all the time. That's why people are afraid. What are you talking about?
Well, okay.
The word doesn't even... That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
I'm serious.
I'm just going with it.
That kind of gives you an idea of how far through the looking glass we are.
So, it offends rats and snakes because of the...
No, but people are more apt to kill, and they don't think twice about killing rats and snakes because we have downgraded them in our language by calling people rats and snakes like it's a derogatory term, which it is.
Oh, okay. So
I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's how they're approaching
that's
this.
Exactly.
So we got to cuddle the rat that gave you rabies.
Yes, if rats are in your home.
Yeah.
They are to be loved. Because
Okay.
they might cook you breakfast like Remy.
Oh, well, let's find him. Let's get him on Kitchen Nightmares or something. Let him cook something. Because let me tell you, I rented out an apartment to somebody, and they were not too fond of the rats that came through their house. They did not say, hey, listen, I just want to let you know you got some extra tenants. We're hugging them now. No, that doesn't happen. What, hug a snake? You mean an object that can wrap around you and kill you? I'm sorry, I didn't know words offended snakes too.
Look, I don't mean to sidetrack the conversation, but you brought
it's
up PETA.
crazy.
This is where it's going. I mean, it doesn't stop. There's always a new level to explore
of sensitivity.
Yeah, I'm curious as to like if 30 years from now, as these chimps evolve, will they go to us and be like, "Hey, man, y'all need to really take those monkeys out of that jungle soon." That's kind of
What the fuck?
to us actual monkeys out in the real world. We're productive citizens, and we don't just go around acting crazy, painting ourselves and trying to imitate humans. We're our own people.
Well, that was that chimp that ripped that woman's face off that one time. I mean, it's not like...
Oh, yeah. But there was a gorilla that took care of the baby when it fell over the thing. I mean, we can't give him all the bad names.
Shout out to Harambe.
Yeah, but they shot him.
Exactly. They judged him wrong.
But don't be surprised if you see that as time goes on, especially with the junk cruise. I mean, where if somebody steps in and says, man, I don't like the way you're portraying those hippos as being scary and aggressive.
Yeah, those hippos that's body shaming.
Right. Those crocodiles look quite menacing. They don't, they wouldn't.
They don't need that.
No.
We want happy persons.
So I have a interesting thought that just popped in my head about this.
Sure.
It might have just clarified a lot of things for me.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to say this whatever. I almost feel like this is meant to appease the ignorant.
I'm with
this is what I mean.
I'm with that. I'm with that.
Because what Danny's saying,
ahead.
the whole thing about PETA and stuff, it's like I can see PETA's point with that, because here's the thing, and I've raised my daughters like this. I have snakes in my yard all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true. You have something to say on this.
And we see a snake, we see in the garden, but our first thing is like, ooh, we're scared. It's like, ooh, it's a snake. But then we think, and we're like, hey, what color is it? Is this color band or that color band? Oh, it is? Oh, good. We want that snake in our yard. Whereas the ignorant wouldn't know to do that, and they would just say, oh, f***ing kill it.
Right.
Regardless of what color it is. It may be, the kind of snakes that we have, the Louisiana garters, you want that because they'll eat like the rats and stuff.
Oh, no, you can't say rat.
But they'll get rid of other...
So you like snakes, but you hate rats.
Yeah, what the rat did.
That's right.
What the rat did, it eat bugs.
But they'll get rid of other critters and stuff that we don't want around, And so they say, okay, it's a good snake. So I've raised my kids, it's like, hey, let's be a little critical. Let's check out what say. Oh, it's one of those snakes. Yeah, let's run. Get the out of here.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of popped in my head. I'm like, I wonder if that's the case because people are so used. I'm not to say people, but certain element of the population is so used to just generalizing everything that's who they have to appease to now.
Yeah, nobody questions it. If that's the case about the snake, let's just chuck out that Genesis chapter of the Bible while we're at it. Let's just get rid of that. That makes snakes look actually awful completely. Let's just get that one right out of there.
I know, that's popped in my head.
You have a great point. You have a great point.
I think it is ignorance, and it is generalizing for sure. And the fact that the way you deal with problems isn't by looking at it and being like, okay, is this a situation here? No, it's not, because they base it upon actual headhunting tribes, and it's used as an antagonist in a ride, and it's nothing more than a mannequin on a spring. And that's part of the reason why I'm for the changes. Is because can you imagine what they could do with really good animatronics on the? I'd like to see that.
That was smart. Yeah.
So I don't really mind the change so much. It's just the reasonings behind it, and I think that this is people generalizing. I think people go in there and like, this is how they're trying to portray Africans as mean and nasty and savage and all the. No, it's not that. It's meant to portray a villain, and then the villain in this case would be the headhunters who take exception with you coming through their territory.
That's part of the set piece.
That is. They tell you, right, we're heading into headhunter territory. They set it every time that I remember riding it.
Yes.
They set the scene very well. We're heading into territory that we probably should not be in.
Yes. No, that's part of the set piece of that ride. That's that juncture.
And I think like the overarching reasoning for, and I'm curious to hear, I'd love to hear people's thoughts about this. But I think and they only mentioned Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So I'm wondering if it's just a fact that these parks are in the United States of America.
Well, yes.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say,
I
Hong
think
Kong.
that's exactly it.
Yeah, Hong Kong,
yeah,
Japan,
like,
I mean, they wouldn't care. Shanghai,
because
no.
this is the most culturally mixed country on the planet. I mean, people aren't worrying about how the other people feel. And, oh, my God, I mean, the human rights violations in China alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
but they all Chinese, so it's kind of like, yeah, what happened?
We deal with race issues more so than any other population on the planet.
Absolutely.
Because we're a mix of different people. And we have intermixed for so long. This is stuff I try not to engage with. It's kind of sad when we have to talk about stuff.
It's all right, though. It makes us stronger as a podcast to do this.
You know, it's funny. I avoided all Disney fan media or social sites and stuff for this because I just didn't want to. You know, I didn't want to get into all that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know?
When it comes to talking about race,
I just read the articles and stuff. Yeah.
When it comes to race and this and that and the other, like if I could get $1 for every time I had this kind of stuff challenged to me, I could make the job, retire from the job, and collect pension from the job in the same day. Like, you know, it's just that's cool. It's just part of what it is.
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, this is also Disney's fault as well because they see this as being an issue. But rather than doing what they should have been doing all along and saying, you know what, we do need more culturally diverse attractions, just like they did with movies. We need more culturally diverse movies. So we got Moana and we got Coco. But where are the attractions for these? They don't exist. And so what do they do when they want to appease that crowd and when they want to appease the people who would like to see it, which would be everybody.
Right, yeah.
If they played it like that. But instead of playing it like that, they say, no, in order to give this to these people, we're taking this that you like away from you loyalists.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Not race, but loyalists. People who liked the attraction, thought the attraction was fine. Now, again, the Jungle Cruise, who cares? I agree with Lee with what he said. I don't like encouraging bad behavior, but how many people do you know that ride the Jungle Cruise and you know, man, Headhunter number 4 was my favorite character, and if they get rid of him, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
No.
I've ridden with just plenty of times with y'all. I've never come off there like, I can't ride it again. I'm offended. Yeah.
Well, 9 times out of 10, or if like 9.9 times out of 10, it's about the skipper.
Yes,
that's true.
You
yeah.
know, it's like, hey, did you have how was your ride? It's like, oh, I had an okay skipper. Oh, I had a great skipper. It's like, oh, my skipper kind of sucked. You know, kind of sucked. you know, it's never like the scenes because the scenes haven't changed. They're the same damn scenes.
Yeah.
You know, what makes the attraction is how the skipper presents it, I guess.
Now, hopefully the story that they're going to redo, did they tell y'all or divulge y'all exactly what?
They didn't, but that's part of my concern. So if there's a real concern about the actual story element of it, it's how they're going to... Now, one of the things I like about it is I think that this group of people that we're seeing on the poll and everything like that, and judging by what they did with Skipper Canteen, I think we're going to see more of an introduction of the C group into the Society of Explorers and Adventurers are going to be made a big part of this attraction, and that would go along with the Skipper Canteen restaurant and everything like that. So I'm kind of excited about the change. I don't want them to overdo story, though. I don't want an overly... One of the things that's fun about the Jungle Cruise is that no two cruises are the same. Jungle Cruise skippers go off script. They vary jokes up. They mix them up all the time, and it's an interesting experience every single time you ride. So I hope they still have the leeway to spiel.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, it always seemed to be like we're going on a Jungle Cruise. Like you said, it is a cruise and whatnot, but if they're going to change the story, it would be kind of cool if it was a little more interactive. But, yeah, the skipper doesn't have to, like, stay on the script. Just maybe not have everything in the outside part of it be so disjointed. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a very disjointed ride. It's a good way to put it because I mean, you have no idea what continent. Like when we meet the natives, I'm not sure which part of the. I mean, you go through like 4 continents. You're in Africa. You're in Asia.
Exactly.
You're everywhere. So
hanging out by trees is.
So I can even understand to some people's points that like, yeah, where are we when we run into these natives? I mean, because maybe headhunters aren't indigenous to this part. Y'all just shoehorned them in because y'all didn't have any other animals.
Yeah, where the signs that say, "Hey, you're headed to whatever." You know?
Yeah, like the States. Welcome to. But,
right. Yeah. So that's a way to have story connected together, not affect, the host that's the skipper that's providing the boat, and still not really be offensive because now you have, boom, here's the history of said thing.
A small thing that I thought was humorous because I was reading some comments and someone mentioned something about carnivorous plants, and I swear to God, I read it is that they were going to put coronavirus plants in the Jungle Cruise. I was like, what the hell is this?
Were you freaking out for a little bit?
I was like, how is that going to work? And why is that a good idea? But I had to read it again. It was carnivorous, not coronavirus.
That's the dyslexia f***ing with you, Lee.
Still dangerous.
You know, this is. I did want to touch on this real quick because the propaganda that Disney's come out with is really like, I don't know if y'all saw the video of them interviewing Jungle Cruise skippers. And they're like, what do you think about these changes? Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I think they're wonderful. And these are going to be great changes for the jungle. And it's like that scene that you see in Airplane where the guy is reading the news and like right off the camera, the guy with a gun to his head. It's like, what do you expect they're going to say? It's like, oh man, I think these changes suck.
That's where I got the quote about the boat story.
Still have jobs.
Yes. It's like,
oh wow.
You want to be on the next round of layoffs? You better talk about how you like this ride.
That's deep.
But, so I mean, I thought that was a little over the top. Yeah. But then there was another thing we go back to that interview with Mr. Beatty. The interviewer asked, I cannot make this up. The interviewer asked him this question. I feel like there is sometimes perhaps misplaced concern that when an attraction is reimagined, that it is somehow not going to be as great as it was before. How do you address that? And I'm like, Stitch's Great Escape, Tiki Room under new management, Mission Space, Grand Fiesta Tour, Mr. Toe. Like, how many examples do we have of them wrecking great attractions?
Oh, Journey into Imagination.
Oh, Figment! Thank you. I mean, the whole idea there's a misconception. Stop. Y'all botched a lot.
Maybe somebody should belch hot dog in his face, wake him up.
Just to kind of wrap this up, because I know we need to move on because we got one more topic to discuss here that I'm sure is just as equally warming to the heart.
Oh, but this was one of the most rawest conversations I've had with y'all.
This was fun, man.
It was fun.
I enjoyed having this conversation because honestly, we didn't have this conversation before this, so I had no idea how everyone was going to feel until we sat here and started discussing it. It just seems to be weird. Every single time we talk, we're all kind of on the same page, which is, I don't really care, but people a lot.
Yeah, like, if you're going to pick something, here's something you want to look at, but yeah, let's change something that is completely imaginary, based on something real that you're not affecting.
But I just, to what Lee said when we first started this, I mean, I do think that there's something to be said about the message that this sends to your Disney loyalists who are trying to come to grips with the fact that there's no more Magical Express, that you just killed annual passes, extra magic hours is gone. They can't really afford to go to Disney right now. In addition, the Yeti's still broken. Figment, as Kevin pointed out, that still needs readjusting. And then every single time over and over again, it's like, well, it's a money issue. We can't find the money. Three Caballeros, they got cardboard cutouts sitting there right now because the animatronics keep breaking.
That's offensive to birds.
Right. But anytime it comes to appeasing a vocal minority of people who are complaining about racism in Disney attractions. Oh, found it. Got the money right here. Let's do this.
Probably because they're tied to like media itself. So they probably get extra money for that. Like to be like, oh yeah. We can make some more out of this. We can milk this. And that's all I can think. But you're right. It's crazy. You're right.
I don't mind the change. It's not that I mind the change so much, but I can understand Disney loyalists being like, dude, can you at least fix the people mover so we can ride it? I mean, just
I ain't moving on the people mover.
Something like, there are a gazillion different projects that Disney fans have been bitching about forever.
That's a great point.
When have we gotten a new pavilion to the Epcot?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, it's like, I can understand them being like, dude, the last two projects you announced, are you taking away our Splash Mountain, which we liked, and now you're retheming the Jungle Cruise, which, okay, I don't really care, but really, do we need this?
Better question. The people that are offended by this, that are making such a stake, how often do they go to Disney to experience these things?
That's the thing I was going to. That's the thing I was going to say is like maybe from shows before, as we have said in shows before, maybe they don't. I'm not worried about the loyals because the loyals are going to come up anyway.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and they're hurting for money in the park, so they're trying to get new money to come into the park.
And to that point, perhaps what they're thinking is that these people who are coming up now, who are more culturally minded and really take offense to this kind of thing, these people are coming to the age where they're having kids. and they're raising their kids, and so they're trying to appeal to these people.
I mean, I don't want to. God, I feel like with this conversation go on forever, but that is such a good point that
opens itself.
That generation now has kids that they don't want to have those conversations with them. Like, mommy, why is there a black guy that wants to have my head or whatever? It's like,
talk to the lawnmower guy.
Seriously though, like think about it that way. Like they don't want to have those. They'd rather, if that wasn't there, then they don't have to have that conversation. If the pirate lady getting sold is not in that scene anymore, they don't have to have that conversation to say, hey, art's back a long time ago. This is something that happened, and blah 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 blah. So
yeah,
I don't know. I could be totally off base there, but it's just a lot easier if you don't have to explain those things to your kids.
And that's a good point there, Lee. But I don't know that kids were asking about it. I really think that more often than not, kids are not that inquisitive when it comes to. They just see and accept, and then without knowing what it is. I can't say that I ever rode through that pirate scene and contemplated or questioned what was going on with the.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that they were drunk. I mean, I'm serious. As a kid, did y'all know the pirates were all drunk? That's way more obvious.
No.
And I had no clue. Kev?
I want to say I did, only because of Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, because he always
God bless Bugs. He taught us well.
Yeah, but that was just so random.
Well, I learned a lot from Bugs,
Well, you did, yeah,
they always had somebody doing something silly with a bottle or a jug with XXX on it. So I was like, oh, that's got to be some kind of poison or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Moonshine, yeah.
Somebody tries to kill you, kiss him in the mouth.
I just assumed, okay, that's cool. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that people nowadays would probably not like about Bugs Bunny, but I love it.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is like to Lee's point, if you see some character doing something, no kid thinks about that. But you got to be at a certain age to get to that point. And even if you're the parent that thinks that, if you're that what's the word, woke? Yeah, cornbread stuffing. It is the same thing to me. It's just a mixture of stuff, don't mean nothing. And if you like that, then if you're that aware, your responsibility is to your kid to give them that perception, not Disney, right? You show them something else that still fits the mold that gives them the positive reaction that you want.
Well, but here's the problem, and I think this is what where they kind of eat each other. Is that
we're doing cannibals again?
Yes, we're going to bring it all back to cannibalism.
Yes,
because
okay, this is what happened. Like,
I was thinking something different.
We were young once. We were young once,
absolutely.
And we decried the.
We're still young. What the hell?
Oh yeah, at heart,
very much. The
Cialis helps, but
is that what it's called nowadays?
I'm just saying, it's like at some point in time, we all are young, and innocent, and you want the best for society. And as you get older, with age comes wisdom. The difference between now and then, I think, is that young people believe it's their place to teach old people. Whereas when we were growing up, it was like you sat down, you listened to what old people had to say, and you respected their time and their wisdom, and then you processed, and then you came about with what worked.
You hope they processed, yeah.
No, yeah, well,
we did. Yeah, our generation did.
Yes,
yeah.
You took the best of what they had to offer, and then you carried that flag and you moved forward, and you left behind the materials that are like, okay, that's a product of their time, and you move on. In today's day and age, I just see people lecturing to people. Now, they always say we need to have a conversation. The conversation is usually one group of people screaming at another.
Yes, sir.
And it never gets anywhere. And I think that's the problem. And what's going to end up happening is the people who are doing it now, when they get to a certain age, people are going to start picking apart their things, the things that they grew up and the things that they like. And they're going to be like, well, wait a minute. No, there wasn't anything wrong with that. There's a reasonable explanation why Apple had to, have all their iPhones made by slave labor, and it's going to be
cost
one of those
effective.
it's going to be one of those things where they're like, no, wait, let me explain to you why this happened. People are like, no, f*** you, you're racist, you don't know what you're talking about, and da.
I almost lost a date like that. You're absolutely right. Once you start to break it down, it gets tougher for somebody doesn't want to hear it.
That's the issue, is that sooner or later you eat each other. So
I'm hungry.
It is what it is. So we're curious to know what you guys think about this. Let us know at show@magicourway.com. And the next story we have is this. As what is suggested to be part of Disney's Stories Matter initiative, Disney Plus has quietly removed and has made unavailable several movies from kids' profiles only on Disney Plus. The movies in question are The Aristocrats, Dumbo, Peter Pan, The Lady and Tramp, and live-action Swiss Family Robinson. To give you some backstory on this initiative, Disney Stories Matter initiative started last fall, 2020, and began with the addition of an on-screen content advisory to films that include negative depictions and or mistreatment of people and cultures. So there you go. Kind of ties into what we were talking about before with the whole Jungle Cruise thing. And continuing on.
So I'm going to make my first point short and sweet. If it's a G-rated movie, it should be able to be on a kid's list. Now, if y'all want to go back and say, that Dumbo should be PG because it has some adult content, or because Swiss Family Robinson should be PG for whatever reason, and then you want to leave it off, that's fine. But if it's not offensive enough, and if it's not bad enough to be considered, if it's good enough to stay G, then just leave it on the kids thing. Y'all doing already what you want to do, just putting the warning up front. That should be good enough.
Wait, is it animated Dumbo or like real
animated
life?
Dumbo? Yeah.
Yeah, because the animated Dumbo kind of has some stuff that might be PG, right? There's some drinking in there, and there's some smoking. Is there smoke? No, wait a minute.
Yes, there was. Wait, no, hold up. Wasn't one of the crows puffing on a cigar?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So maybe some of that stuff, then does Dumbo need to be rated PG and then moved off? I don't know. But that's, to me, the bottom line. Like, if you can still call it a G movie, then just leave it on there.
Can I tell you, this is why I've never gotten rid of my Disney DVDs, because sooner or later they're gonna start with these movies. They're gonna start removing scenes. They're gonna start George Lucasing these movies. They're gonna reimagine whole new scenes and sequences. And
CGI Jabba and everything.
Yeah. I like how they do this to where it's almost like the kid can never leave the house. Like, it's almost like, the kid's going to go outside. They're going to see another kid at a school that's going to curse, or another kid that smokes. So they're going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to see these things in real life. Minus a bird smoking. But, come on. Dumbo? Animated Dumbo? It's a little much.
Well, it's the crows is the big thing that they're talking about.
Nah, that's overthinking, though, I think.
The cutoff is, 7? After 7, you can watch whatever you want to watch.
If you're the kid?
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if you make a kid account and your kid's under 7, they can't see Dumbo, they can't see Peter Pan, they can't see Swiss Family Robinson. Was that the other one?
Yeah.
Okay, so they can't see these movies. You can do it for them, I believe. But, they can't do it. But after 7, they can see it, but they just see it with a warning.
Which I don't even know. Like, I don't know about you guys, but who do you have, like, your account password locked or something? Like, could the kid just
just scroll to your account? And look, I don't know how many children under the age of 7 are looking to watch Dumbo
or Swiss Family Robinson,
Swiss Family Robinson, or Peter Pan. Like my child was still in Paw Patrol territory, I want to say, at that age. I hate to say it because I'm a huge Disney fan, but my kid wasn't into the old Disney cartoons growing up. I tried to show her a couple of them, and she just got bored quickly.
Mine loved them.
Yeah, and it's not to say that my kid is the reaction was typical of all kids and stuff like that. I understood that there are some out there that would love them. I'm just saying, what's the cutoff here? So before 7, it's not, you can't see anything like this. You can't see Peter Pan. But after 7, you're fine to be exposed to whatever racism. Like, after 7, it's like, yeah, we gave you the warning. You understood what you were in for. 7-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a viewing party today on your birthday. You turn 8. Like all of the bad Disney movies.
Bad Christmas.
Dumbo.
Daddy.
Cat.
Why is Dumbo drunk? They warned you, didn't they? They told you, knew you were in for.
Yeah, boy. This your birthday, boy. Get a drink. Get a drink, watch some Dumbo. Yeah.
Smoke up, John.
Yeah, smoke them up. Okay, so then let me make sure I got this straight. So while they take this off, meanwhile, you can have programming for the kid to watch. Now, this is the age my daughter was in. She grew up on the That's So Raven and the, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Okay, so now just let me put this in your head for a second. So these shows are available. In these shows, if you really watch them, the kid talks to the parent any kind of way.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. I would watch it with him, like, man, smack that kid. That kid talked to me like
exactly. So, like, if you're trying to control, like, a certain thing of authority, that should be the stuff that you might want to take off the air at a certain time, because my daughter will still watch that to this day. And, they say, oh, Bob, and they always figure they can outsmart the kid. I'm not going to tell you what my daughter did, but my daughter lied to me about something that was, like, so blatantly obvious that it was a lie that I was like, you should just like get out. Like that is the worst lie that you could ever tell.
How long ago?
Last week.
Oh, last week.
Last week.
Are you talking about like an 18-year-old?
Oh yeah,
no, she's 20 now.
She's 20 now, but yeah, okay. When he was a kid, you told her she's a kid. No, when she was a kid, she would like not back talk me as far as cursing and not like that, but she did learn from those shows how to like
manipulate her parents.
Yeah, and just to be like, whatever, and you're kind of like, okay, I don't want to show you what my parents showed me when I was your age if I talk to them. So maybe Disney should consider that level of content as far as a young kid.
I can see that.
Most kids over the age of 7 are already on YouTube, and they're seeing way more harmful.
That's a great point.
But yeah, no, to what you were saying before, like my daughter, shoot, man, I made the mistake like right around Christmas. I don't even remember. Now, it was probably because I was logged into my account. I'm sure if a kid tried to access The Simpsons, they couldn't do it. But like, we watched something on Disney Plus, and then it ended, and Lily sees The Simpsons and Dad, can we watch The Simpsons? I'm like, you're 10. What's the harm? It's Christmas. Let's fine. We'll watch a Christmas special. We were like 10 minutes into it, 5 minutes into it maybe, and Homer says something about Santa coming, and Bart goes, yeah, look, old man, we know that the person comes to the house every year, and it's not a guy in a red suit. And I was like grabbing the remote, trying to shut that up. I'm like, what the hell, Disney? I was so mad, and I was just like, hey, look, it's getting late, kid. You got to go to bed. What's wrong, Daddy? Want to watch? Nah, it's time to go to bed.
It's over. Yeah, go to bed.
Yeah, get the papers.
That's funny. That strikes a thought in my head, because the whole Santa thing is relevant still to this day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
If you think about why people are offended by the crows, would a young person glean that information just by watching Dumbo?
No.
Unless an adult pointed that out to him.
That's fair.
Yes, that's my problem with the word. So people like to use the word over and over again. The crows are racist. To me, racist is something that inspires ill will. It makes you feel a certain negative way about a racial group. I don't know any children. I grew up on Dumbo. I had the record for When I See the Elephant Fly, and I listened to it, and I loved it. It was my favorite song. The crows were my favorite characters. I don't know what it is about the word racist, that the words maybe
construed,
discriminatory, prejudice, bigoted. Those have all been retired. It all falls in the banner of one word now, and that word is racist. And it's such the wrong word for what's going on. Like, if you read the warning for that are shown before these films, it goes like this. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people or cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. And I'm going to stop right there, because when you sit there and you say these stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now, what you're basically saying is you got to follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole. And if it was wrong then, who approved Dumbo and the crows?
The majority.
Well, who's the man?
The man approved it. The man always approved it.
His name is Walt Disney.
Walt Disney.
Well, I was trying to leave that out. I ain't gonna lie, I couldn't take it there. Yeah, but
a lot of those people in charge who had the money were
who approved the natives, as they're called, even though I call them headhunters.
Walt.
Who approved Jungle Cruise? It's Walt.
Yeah.
Who approved the Native American representation in Peter Pan? It's again, it all roads for all this offensive material lead to Walt. So when the Walt Disney Company said those stereotypes were wrong then, what they're saying is Walt Disney knew that these stereotypes were wrong, and he did them anyway, which I don't know. I mean, you follow that trail, Walt Disney was a racist, according to the Disney Company.
Yeah, if you follow, because like I can see the train of logic on that, and it's like there's two ways to interpret that, and I keep that one really short.
I mean, I don't know how you word it better, but you really need to just say like, "Hey, man, you know what? Sorry, we were ignorant back then, and this is not cool. Sorry, we ever thought it was cool, but." It is what it is. So
you consider the time, though. You consider the time in the 50s.
That's the main argument. People that don't like Walt Disney is that number one thing that they say is racism.
Yeah.
That's what they always cite.
Anybody that ever worked for him completely disputes.
I don't throw out racism, because that's like how business was done back then. Back then, they just figured out how to put things on film, and it was like, hey, we figured it out. Now it's information is not as guarded. You could do that. If you're African American, you're you're Filipino, Asian, you can make your own movies now, whatever. You can depict whatever you want. But back then, no, that was a very, very protected source there.
How long ago was the last Toy Story 4? What year was that? What was that? Maybe a year, 2 years ago?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Okay. Who's the voice of Mr. Potato Head?
Potato Head? That was, it's...
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles, yeah.
Who made a career out of making fun of racial stereotypes in every way possible?
Don Rickles, he literally says that in his jokes.
He's a character in Toy Story Mania on both coasts. He was used in all 3 movies. He was homaged in Toy Story 4, and he made a living because he joked and he goofed on people's racial characteristics.
But he couldn't get away with that now.
In that era. Right, he could not get there.
In that era, yes.
You'll never see another Don Rickles. So, you're not...
Don't put it like that. I mean, you know.
No, you're not.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah. It's just the topic of conversation.
You're not going to... Yeah, no. That's... Anyway, so the point being is that when you're looking at this in context, why can't they say these stereotypes were misinformed then, and by today's standards are wrong?
They didn't have an option back then. Yeah,
right. Well, I mean, people were just figuring it all out.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's what I'm saying. When you refer to the people who come in the past, when you demonize the people who came before you as racist, and instead of like using their material as like a teachable moment and be like, look, these were good people. They just, they didn't understand. They weren't as sensitive. They weren't as knowledgeable about cultures as we are today. But they were all good people, because, hey, Walt sought to make movies, and Walt. The first Academy Award was presented to James Baskett for Song of the South, and he was a progressive, and he was somebody that moved the needle forward and was concerned about representation.
And his history dies now.
That's instead of demonizing everybody and villainizing all of them, why can't we just understand that it's a slow curve upward? Why do we have to eat our past?
Back to cannibalism? Because the generation that comes after and after and after and after has their own train of thought.
They feel entitled to sit in judgment of those that came before them.
It's usually about when that generation hits like their 20s or 30s. Somehow they want to become self-aware. Like, in the 70s, somebody's a hippie. They're like, oh my God, man, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. I mean, each generation has their own point in that. But yeah, back then, since it was newly discovered, how I say this, right? People of color back then had bigger things to worry about than how they were represented on television. And that's a fair thing to say. And that's changed now. But now we covered on entertainment and then how people are seen, and if you can't call a rat, and all this other shit. Like now it's too much. Like now the real basic thing is that if everybody had a sense that they can grab their own sense of economic power and be fair on it, then I think you have a chance to really see things move forward, and like you talk about Don Rickles, it'd be like back then they had a Black Wall Street. You know that? It was like wealthy black people that had their own like set of street and was doing their own thing back then. It got burned down. People never tried again. Like it's just, it was a crazy time back then.
Bombed.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so like now you say, well, this is racist, but it's like, man, no, you need to find the cats that built like Black Wall. I hate to call it Black Wall Street, but that's what it's called.
That's how articles refer to it. Yeah.
That's how it's referred to.
That's how it's referred
but
to.
I mean, that says something in itself, right? Like black people can't just come up and like have their own wealth. Like, like it's like Black Wall Street. Like, no, it's just black people trying to get paid too. That's that's it. Like this whole thing of something being equality and whatnot. Yeah, everybody has different talents. And back then, you got to give it to Walt. He had a creativity who was like, hey, look, there's a whole world outside of Florida. There's a whole continent that's happening. And let me bring it to you. Let me check it out. You'll like it. Here's flying elephants. I don't want to offend your children. I'm just trying to show you, hey, wouldn't this be funny if a bird smoked a cigar? Like, there has to be a part in society where they have to let their imagination go wild. And then that is when all this crazy judgment happens. Meanwhile, in real life, people are acting like nothing's happened. Like, get out of here. It's crazy.
Is it fair to say this, that the entertainment business is a business, and at the time and day, they were appealing to those that had the money?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Whoever get paid, get paid.
I think it's fair to say that, but I don't. There again, there seems to be the connotation that there's something nefarious going on. Like, it's like, hey, look, we'd like to do something for. Do y'all really think that Walt's intention wasn't to showcase African Americans in the best light in Song of the South?
I mean, Uncle Remus was a happy guy.
I mean, I think Walt's heart was in the right place.
Yeah, his intention was in the right place. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, did he have to make that movie? No. He did what he thought was the right thing to do because he loved those stories and he thought it was a good, positive, uplifting message of togetherness. Now, no one's going to accuse Walt of being woke, and granted, the man has his flaws, but for the Disney company to pretty much come out and say, hey, back then, those stereotypes were wrong, and he should have known better, is basically the insinuation that you take away from that. They're pretty much calling the founder of the company, the name on the letterhead, a racist. And there's a part of me that's scratching my head going, what the hell? Even Looney Tunes did not go this far in how they labeled their past content as being it was wrong then, it's wrong now. It was kind of like it was misinformed then. And it wasn't as culturally sensitive as it should have been. People joked in a different way back then. How people joked in a different way back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, and we evolve and we all move on and we all grow. But I mean, don't make any mistake about that. At some point in time, there's not going to be somebody who's like, man, Disney had Don Rickles in how many films, and look what he had to say about these people and that people and everything like that. That's going to happen. It's coming. It isn't here yet, but it's coming.
I think it's about what the Disney brand itself now is tied to now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but back then, it was like, we're a park, we're entertainment. But now they have their hands in everything. So then each thing, as intricate as it is, each thing affects the other thing. Like if they're involved with ABC, that's news media. You know what I'm saying? Like, sports or whatever. So now it's a lot more messier than it could be. Like if it may have been just, hey, here's the park and this is what it is. Boom. Wash your hands, you're clean. It's simple. But this new brand, this new corporation, the synergy is a little dyssynergist, and it's not all incorporated properly.
Well, I think people are way too concerned about their history, and it's the old saying that you can't see where you're going if you keep looking backwards.
Yeah, you don't know where you've been.
Well, that's the thing. But I don't know. I think people are way too focused on the bad parts of history, and in a sense are trying to recreate those bad moments in modern day 2021 America. And I don't think that the issues that we were facing then are the issues that we're facing now. I don't think this is as big of a problem as people are making it out to be. I think there's a lot of bored minds out there. A lot of people who could be curing cancer if they would just get off of Twitter and complaining about that people did 70 years ago. But that's just me.
I mean, I'll say this. I have confidence in myself and my wife that we can raise our children accordingly, despite what they see on whatever. I don't need a company helping me with that.
I'm with you. They got to talk to you. They got to have real life experience.
Well, it's generally the people who don't see race that never talk about race.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean, we never talk about it on the show, but you're married to an African-American woman.
Yeah.
Eli's African-American. I mean, shoot, I don't think I have a white friend. Eli, you speak for me on this one. I mean...
You don't.
Hispanic or African.
You tried, but no, you don't.
Yeah, I don't get along with white people very well.
All the brothers stick with you.
Yes.
I was married to a white woman. I mean, I date all different races. It doesn't matter to me. I will
non-discriminate.
Like, who wants a shot?
And then there's Lee.
Oh yeah, that's the Aryan right there.
That is.
Man, I am Chex-Mex, y'all. My
He's married to a Mexican.
That
right?
is true.
What's it?
Yeah, my wife is Hispanic.
So we kind of woke, right? Isn't that what woke is? Like,
no, that is so not woke. You have to be aware of all the terms, all the. That's my thing. Is I just choose.
We're
not
old
to
and not woke. Is what it is.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's cornbread stuff. It's just an amalgam of all kind of ingredients. Just throw it in there, and hopefully it tastes good.
My wife asked me the other day. She said, what do we do? Like, how do we raise Lily when it comes to stuff like this? And how do you teach her? I was like, easy. Tell her to not participate. It's like, just judge people by the content of their character and don't worry about learning the terms, because by the time she gets to the age of 15, all those old terms will be outdated anyway and no one's using them anymore. Don't waste your time learning that. Just treat everybody the same.
Yeah, I would say this on my closing point is I talked to a lady and she's got like a a biracial son. And we had this talk. She got mad at me because I didn't jump in all of the politics and stuff. And I said, let me tell you something. Everybody in the world is prepared for you when you're angry. No one's ever prepared for you when you're intelligent. Tell your kid that.
That's a good quote.
That's it. That makes sense.
That's right. That's for me. That's right. 2021. Right
goes
there,
in my-
boy.
Came up with that on your own.
I did, because I was trying
That's
to get
beautiful.
that. You know what I'm saying?
You sure you ain't quoting Gandhi or
No,
something?
I was
Okay.
fired up. Like when I get fired up, sometimes the mind takes me places. But yeah, Gandhi for our new listeners on
Ghana,
Ghana.
yes, for India, all our Indian listeners. Yes,
I think that's
out
an
there.
appropriate spot to close this discussion.
Well, I wanted to throw one more thing in there.
Oh, go
You know,
for
it's,
it.
It's like we don't talk religion a lot on this show at all. But there's one commandment that a lot of people should know if they know their commandments, and that's love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah, I love you, Kevin.
I mean, that's it's so simple. That's
Shed
it.
of love,
There's
Kevin.
no other words. It's just like, you know, if you don't love your neighbor, there's obviously something wrong with you.
And don't cover the wife.
So don't take it out on anybody
Yeah.
else.
That
I
might
get
be
you in
the
trouble
first
with the
time in the
neighbor.
show that you propositioned him as opposed to the other way around.
It's a new age. It's a new age.
But no,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly it. Look, you are a stupid person if you immediately close off interactions that you could have with somebody based upon what they look like or the color. I mean, to close yourself off to people because of that, or to presume that you know people or how they would feel on the subject because of this, that, and the other. Like I said, like I've spoken to many people about these issues. I have never heard one person express any kind of outrage or disgust or like really, it's just don't care. And I think that's the majority of Americans. There's a small percentage of people, and again, they're very vocal, but there's a small percentage of people who are pushing for this, and they should just put their energies into something a lot more positive that is going to do some good for this world, rather than critiquing people that you never knew and labeling people that you never knew the content of their heart, labeling these people and critiquing their works and taking away. Because that's the other thing I don't like about this is that it's just so anti-art.
Very much.
All this is just so, like, you know, when you get to a point when you're trying to create something as an artist, I mean, you've dealt with it with Project Geisha. You've had, like, that is one thing that you've had negative interactions with people of your same race of, because they'll read your book and they'll look at it and be like, yeah, it's cool, but where the black people at? Why is it only Asians?
You say that, but that actually happened to me earlier last week.
I'm saying it because I know that it happens all the time.
I had a cousin come in on my side, on my dad's side, and he was like, "Oh, you do comics?" And I had all of them spread out. I'm like, "These are all yours." He literally looked through all of them. He put Project Geisha down because there was no woman, but he picked up the Molly Be Damned because it has a black lead in it, and he's like, "Sign this one for me." I'm like, yeah, cool. I mean, you could have had them all, but okay. You know, I don't know if that's a sexism thing. Like, I'll discriminate. I'll put all characters in there.
It's just when it comes to the point where it's like, yeah, that's a great story, Eli, but there's not enough black people.
Right.
How much of the proportion of Asians to other minority
Europeans
characters
in there.
exactly are there? That is not creativity. That's a to-do list. You know, when you have somebody like, you know, I can't remember that we talked about this earlier in that interview. There was somebody that Disney named that it was like the head of creativity and inclusivity. And I'm like, those two ideas are completely opposite.
separate. Yeah.
If you're creative, you're just searching for a means to tell your story. When somebody hears your story and like, that's great. How do we get
somebody? Yeah.
Yeah. So how do
get
we
out of trouble?
It's like I don't know. I mean, his best friend, no, but could the best friend be a woman and we could do it just the same? Well, that's not my vision of it. That's not what, yeah. We're not worried about that. We're worried about appealing to as many people as possible. That is focus grouping a story. And look, not to say it doesn't happen in movies, not to say it doesn't happen in film, but I mean, most times when a film based on a movie fails, it's generally because they deviate from the subject matter.
Yeah, those options are wrong. What they do.
Sometimes the choices are so obvious that they're pandering to get as many people from a different gender or racial component interested in what they're doing. And it's just so anti-art. When you think about people who worked on, like, especially at Disney, you're not guaranteed. No one's guaranteed. Like, if you're a good artist and you create a masterpiece, you get it hanging in a museum, and long after you're dead, somebody walks by and says, "Wow, that's beautiful," and that's all you can hope for is a legacy. When you work at Disney and you create a masterpiece, there's some sense of satisfaction when you go to the grave that maybe, your grandparents were running through there and like, somebody's like, your great grandfather, did the costumes on that ride or did this and that. There's no greater feeling of just, that hurts, I would think, as an artist, to know that your work was taken out of there. Your vision was taken out of there because, not because what you did wasn't good, but because somebody found something within it that they could figure out a way to connect it back, because the critics' voices are louder than the creators today.
I understand. Now I know. I got it now. I know who's behind this.
That's a true statement.
That's a very true. No, I was choked up. You know who's behind this? Thanos. He's unraveling totally everything there, or at least some relative of some big time executive was undo this. But that's very important. That's a lot of sacrifice to make for your art, to have somebody come out of nowhere and dismantle it.
Well, and you and I talked about this before. It's like, when it comes to like you like legacy and stuff like that, it's like, man, I'd be satisfied if I just had something in a Disney park where maybe 1,000 people pass by there a day, but maybe 1 or 2 people notice, like, oh, that's cool. Like, and they don't even know who did it. It's not signed. It's not nothing. But just to know that long after I'm gone, 1 or 2 people be something like, oh, that's clever. Like Mr. Toad in the Haunted Mansion Cemetery or something like that, which Alex Marbez, I can't remember the guy's last name. It was Imagineer that we had dinner with. Yeah. Just something cool like that.
You did plus a ride once.
I did.
That's true.
This
is true.
Yeah. That was funny.
Might still be there. Who knows?
But anyway, that's all you can hope for, is that you, as an artist, you leave a legacy, and it just sucks that your legacy is taken away from you, not because that your art wasn't a masterpiece, was because somebody figured out a way to tear down your masterpiece to elevate their status, and that was the sole motivation behind it. It wasn't because what you did was egregious, and it was, something that is wrong, something is it's readily knowable. It's self-evident. You see it, you know it immediately. Like, I can watch Peter Pan and hear what made the red man red and go, yeah, that is probably not going to be something that I would want my kid to hear. That is something that I could have a problem with. But I can also see the crows in Dumbo and be like, do you know? If you didn't know from reading, would you even know who the fake voice was? And if you were to take an issue with the dialect, would the dialect be any different than the dialect that you heard in the barbershop and Coming to America?
No. And you're talking to a guy that has parents that let him watch Dumbo and never said anything about crows or not like that. So no, never would have got that. I'm lucky.
Shoot, we could bring it to Princess Tiana. It's like, man, we don't freaking sound like that here.
No, not even close. I could bring it to that. Like, look at any depiction of Italians in Disney films. They're the ringmaster. There's Stromboli, whether it was Tony from Lady and the Tramp. They're talking like this. It's
in Cars, yeah.
Oh my God, Luigi! I love Tony Shalhoub. But I'll be damned if all Italians sound like that.
You're right. I'm sorry I offended you by laughing. You just caught me off guard.
Please laugh. I don't take myself that seriously. I don't feel it's my place to protect an entire culture of Italian people who don't.
They got something against Italians.
Mario and Luigi, they all look the exact same.
They all fat.
I got to deal with Chef Boyardee whenever. Somehow I'm able to function and go on and not feel marginalized.
I mean, that maybe, that's you don't want that. You don't want that.
All right, guys, look, we're curious to see what you guys think, and hopefully you have some thoughts.
We're closing with that. Eli had a great quote. We're closing with that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about, guys, and we hope you listeners have some opinions about this. We'll be curious to know what you think, because I'm sure there's a lot of y'all that probably disagree with stuff.
Just keep it civil, please. Don't go overboard with the racial stuff.
We all people. We all people. We all want to
watch your terms, watch everything else.
Yes.
We can have a civil discourse, please, about this, especially in our group or even in the emails and whatnot. And that's all we ask. So we're going to tell you how to get in touch with us in just a little bit. Guys, we hope you enjoyed that conversation, I say, about those 2 news topics. If you want to learn more about us, magicourway.com is the way to go. There you'll find our social media links, past episodes, and more. Also, you can get in touch with us through the following ways to share your opinion. You can shoot us an email at show@magicourway.com. Leave us a voicemail via our SpeakPipe widget right there on the homepage, or you can call or send us a text message at 1-815-MOWEEKEN. That is 1-815
Mo Weekend
669-4226. And of course, we have a couple of guys that do things outside of the podcast. First of all, we have Eli does things with comics. Here we go.
Hey, Rob Liefeld here. Deadpool, Cable, X-Force, Domino, Marvel Comics, Image Comics.
What's
all
up?
of it. You guys, what is up? Eli Ivory. What a great name. Eli Ivory, comic guru. I'm here
for what?
to talk about you.
Me?
I am here to say, check out ivorycomics.com. That's right, you. Check out ivorycomics.com. ivorycomics.com.
Why?
If you're not doing that, you're missing out. You're missing out. The Savages comic cannot be beat, cannot be surpassed. You need to check it out, experience it for yourself.
But I don't know the story.
You know the story.
Yeah, you do.
It's all about the glory.
Yeah.
Congrats to you and all the magic that you're making with your Ivory Comics, Eli Ivory, comic book guru. Check out ivorycomics.com, comic book guru, Eli Ivory, the whole package.
Who said to?
Deadpool said to. Do it. ivorycomics.com right now. Liefeld out.
Man, I need to make that my new ringtone. That just sounds good every
Your phone
time
be
I
ringing
hear
for
it.
2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm going to just call people like, call me back. Well, hear the story about the glory. Absolutely. Yes. So what Rob said is totally on point. What he leaves out, though, is that you miss a link to the Magic Our Way podcast, so you never miss a beat.
You miss a link to the Magic Our Way podcast, so you never miss a beat?
Yeah, that's it. He left the link out, but I'm adding the link in. Because when you go to the Ivory Comics website,
LinkedIn.
I'm all LinkedIn. You can find me. I got a happy profile. Actually, y'all are in the profile.
You're Jack LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's right. Jackie Jing LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm all about the linking in. That's it. That's how we come together as a people when you're LinkedIn.
Lincoln Park.
There you go. Great song. Great group. There you
Got
go.
that Lincoln log on the table. We all listen.
That's it. Build it up. So, yes, you can see everything on there. There's interviews and there's all the previews of art that I'm doing. Please support that. Appreciate it. Link to this podcast. Never miss an episode. Facebook.com. Eli Jive. You can find me there as long as you're a real person. Hey, how you doing? If you're a bot, I don't know who you is. You can go ahead and check out Facebook.com/Project Gage and check out the artwork there. Love that. Instagram, right there, posting up hearts and likes and thumbs ups and forwards and all that good stuff. I'm right there, EIV504. And of course, on Twitter, you can find me at Hancock2166. So you heard what Rob said, but what you didn't know is if you appreciate the madness, you're just bringing me the gladness, and I've been smiling a lot. Thank you very much.
And if you want to book a vacation down to, I guess Walt Disney World is the only one that's open. That way you can critically think and check out Jungle Cruise for yourself.
Wow.
You can do that through Lee. Lee, tell them how to do this.
Just give me a call at 832-431-1621. That's 832-431-1621. I got nothing today, man. I was too caught up in the conversation. It was
Whoa! I totally thought you were going to say something, and you didn't say this. I'm surprised. I thought you was going to say indigenous.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same word.
Papa Nagini?
But no, not today.
Well, hey, look, at least we got the real number for a change. Eh?
Yeah, that's the real number.
You might want to stick with that sometime.
You can actually book a vacation. There you go.
Email me at lee@magicourway.com. Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/Lastovica Travel. That's LASTOVICA Travel. Instagram, you got a friend in Lee Travel. You do any of that, we'll get you hooked up and booked up with no
Hasselvika.
And in addition, there are so many ways to support the show as a whole, and you can find them all on our website, magicourway.com. Any way in which you can support the show is deeply appreciated. We also want to take a second and thank you for being a loyal listener, and we love hearing from our listeners. All opinions are always welcome in the Magic Our Way podcast, so make sure you get in touch with us today. So, Mohegans, ladies and gentlemen, we say Kwaherini. My name is Kevin.
And I'm Danny.
Magic out.
I have every intention of eating those bananas for breakfast, but I still somehow end up with tacos.
Headhunter hamburgers.
Oh, now you got something.
Yeah.
You know what, Eli?
What?
It doesn't matter where I am, but I always have Mad Hatter Radio with me.
That's it. It's all about the Mad Hatter Radio heart.
It is, man. I have it always with me. When I'm at work, Mad Hatter Radio.
That's it. It's
when I'm at home, Mad Hatter